part j. And sometimes these ones, again, have pieces that are needed, and then other pieces that we can kind of just mix and match. So it's just lots of practice here. If we have a denominator of 15, of 5, and of 2, we don't necessarily need to multiply all of them because 5 can go into 15. So really our common denominator then just has to incorporate that since 2 can't go into 15, let's go ahead and multiply 15 and 2 to make 30. And since 5 can go into 30, then this becomes our common denominator. Okay, so we're going to make sure each individual denominator turns into our common denominator. So we must multiply 15 by 2 to make 30. So we got to multiply this by 2, and that gives me a 4. 5 has to multiply by 6 to get 30. So 3 times 6 is 18, and we'll be adding those. 2 has to multiply by 15 to get 30. So 1 multiplied by 15 to get that 30, and we must subtract 15. So that gives us, let's see, 7 over 30, and we have that as our simplified common denominator. And we're going to do the same thing over on this problem. So let's break this one up. If we can factor any denominator, we always factor. So this becomes x as a common denominator, or sorry, a common factor, x plus 3. And now what we're going to do is we're going to write our common denominator, because these two are already individually factored. So this x stands alone by itself as its own factor. X plus 3 stands alone as its own factor. But when I go to my second one, notice it already has x plus 3, so I'm good. I don't need to add another x plus 3. If it's already there, it already counts. Kind of like this 5 was already part of 15. We didn't have to write it again. All right. X minus 1 is not yet listed in our common denominator, so x minus 1 must also be in our denominator. If sometimes you're having trouble seeing that, we're going to go back to colors. I have a pink, a green. This one happens to already be there as green, and then maybe an orange right here. So here's my orange denominator, here's my green denominator, here's my pink denominator. Maybe this helps you if you can't to visualize it a little bit better. So we're going to, oops, I didn't do pink, I did green. Right there. All right, so we're going to now go back to each individual fraction one at a time and make sure that its denominator matches all three pieces of our common denominator. All right, so let's go through. This 3, I'm going to start with 3, so I'm going to copy it over here. That 3 numerator has this current denominator. Well, it has pink, it has green. There's pink, there's green. It's missing orange. So I need to multiply this by x minus 1. So 3 times x minus 1 is what I'm going to start with. I usually write my numerator and then I simplify it later. Okay, plus sign, I'm going to copy the plus sign. I'm going to copy the 2. I'm now in the middle denominator. It right now has the green denominator right here. It's missing pink and orange. So I have to multiply this by x and by x minus 1. Okay. So let's see, we're going to multiply it by x and x minus 1. And this is kind of nice. Normally I'd put parentheses around here, but since 2 is multiplied by x, I'm just going to use that so when I distribute it makes it a little bit quicker. All right, the last one, I'm going to copy the plus sign, copy the current numerator, and then I'm going to check the denominator. Right now I have the orange, which is right here. I need green and pink. So I'm going to multiply this by x and x plus 3 to make it match my common. So this is times x. Now in this case, I'm going to put a parentheses because this x is separated. And now I'm going to simplify my problem. Let's see, my common denominator is x, x plus 3, x minus 1. Now I need to fix all my numerators, so I'm going to do it way up here. If I distribute here, I'm going to get 3x minus 3. Over here, if I distribute, I get plus 2x squared minus 2x. And then my last one, I'm going to distribute here. That's going to be 4x squared. And then I have to distribute that to each piece. So I did multiply in order to figure it all out. Let's see, plus 4x cubed and plus 12x squared. So this right here is my numerator. I just got to make it a little prettier, combine like terms. So let's see, we'll go in standard order, highest power. Here's 4x cubes. 12x squared plus 2 more x squared is 14. Minus 2x and plus 3x is plus x, and then minus 3 left over. So this is my simplified or my sum of all these fractions, and now I need to incorporate excluded values. So this is true as long as I never get 0 on my denominator, because I cannot divide by 0. So right here we have an individual factor of x by itself. Well, the only thing that makes x 0 is if x is 0 there, because we're not adding or subtracting. Over here I have an x plus 3 factor, which means whenever x is negative 3, I'm going to get 0. And over here, whenever x is 1, I'll get 0. So I have to incorporate those restrictions or excluded values, and I have completed this. So what you're going to try to do is work with your tables. Remember, factor these denominators, find common denominators, and then fix the numerators, okay? Each one of these are pretty good. What I want to make sure you remember is down here on part D, when you're doing the excluded value, for example, 2x plus 3, remember, you never want it to equal 0. So if this denominator ever equaled 0, we would have an error. So if you're ever not sure and it's not as quick as just like x plus 2, well, just set it equal to 0 and solve. Well, we're going to subtract 3, and then we'll divide by 2. So this is the value, negative 3 halves, that you would have to exclude, because if you plugged in x being negative 3 halves, you're going to get right here 0, and 4 divided by 0 is going to make this problem an error. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's the only extra piece I wanted to make sure you remembered. All right, work with your groups on completing these. I have an answer key up at my desk, as always. When you're finished with that, grab the homework page that just gives you more practice. Next class period on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, Tuesday, we will have some more practice working with multiplying, division, and then adding, subtracting as well. So you'll have another opportunity in class to ask me questions, and I'll be here on Tuesday. Next week, Tuesday, Thursday, Thursday will be a quiz, and it will cover all of multiplying, dividing, all of adding and subtracting. Any of these last 2 class periods is what's going to be on that quiz. So work with your groups, check your answers when you're ready, pick up the additional assignment page, and make sure that you can check those as well. All right, guys, thanks, and have a great weekend.